In the darkest nights, we find our light. Battered souls, but we won't lose sight. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, never alone. Through every trial, we carry on. Surviving together, we stand tall. United forever. Strength and courage will overcome. Oh, surviving together, victorious, and never, never alone. Hand in hand, we'll face the unknown.
We see you, we hear you, and we believe you. Hey, everyone. How you doing tonight? You've landed at Surviving Together, a safe space for trauma survivors to connect and build community on their healing journey, as well as providing trauma-related education for all. I apologize in advance for any delays we have, any bufferings we have. It's StreamYard. It's nothing that I can do. I've checked my equipment, and I've noticed it with other people's streams who are using StreamYard as well. I guess they're still working out their kinks in trying to get their upgrade working with or get their system working with the browser upgrade. So we'll just power through and like we always do, and hope that it works out here. Today we've got Crystal is here, and so is Mustang Mike. Welcome to both of you. I'm glad you've joined us here tonight. If you guys know, I'm wearing about as little clothes as I possibly can and still be on camera and have this not be OnlyFans. So it's gonna cool off tomorrow significantly, thank God. With the rain coming, it's been raining on and off today, which has not brought the heat relief yet. So I think I could wring out a rag in my house. I think my son's gone to get a dehumidifier. We thought we had one, but it turns out it's a humidifier. It needed a new filter. We pulled it out of storage and we're like, yay, we can use this. And it's a humidifier. So hopefully that'll work, and at least we'll dry things out a little bit, be a little easier for the fans, for us to feel the coolness with the fans. It won't be quite so miserable of a night. Deirdre, how are you? Been thinking about you, girl. I hope that you are doing a little bit better than last time we ran into each other. So it might be a little bit short of a live. If I melt, I why. Friday it's going to be a lot cooler, and I should be able to have it be much better. Deirdre, you have a dehumidifier for the first time, and it's a room cooler bonus. Yeah, it's amazing once you get some of that moisture out of the air, like how much cooler it feels. I have a section of windowsill that I need to replace that's on the inside, and we're not quite sure how it got damaged. We're thinking that, that window's been left open occasionally, and so it's like rained at night and it's rained in on the sill and we haven't noticed it, but it's like the wood is bubbling up. And I check it occasionally, and part of where it's bubbling up is like almost flaky now. It's like turning to sawdust because of the moisture in the air. It's really bad. So, I mean, it's just one little piece of wood. We've kind of looked all around it. It's not a systemic issue, so I don't think I've got like water damage behind the walls or anything. There's no streaking on the walls. It's just that piece of wood right in front of the part that opens. So pretty convinced that that's it. It's just an indicator of how wet it is here. I told I said you have two options tonight. You can get a humidifier or you can go sleep at your parents' house. You could do one or the other because you're not gonna want to sleep here tonight. Um, yeah, moisture damage, it's nasty. When we first moved in, I don't think we'd been here a year. And I noticed mold on the ceiling above the slider in my son's room, which is the basement. It's a walkout. And I'm like, what in goodness name? And then you could feel wet. And they had the upper slider, which is directly above it on the next floor, replaced. And they didn't do it right. And so when it rained, any of the rain that was coming in against the slider was going straight down into the wall and down below. It was bad. Thank God I was still renting at that time, so it wasn't my responsibility, and the landlord had to get it fixed. He was the one who got the contractor to put in the old one anyway and got it put in wrong. So I am noticing a delay, and that really bugs me. So sorry if I like lose my stream of consciousness, if I lose my talk. But today you doing okay? Good days and bad days? Yeah, I completely understand that. It's it's one of the reasons I chose today's topic, which is about, you know, okay, there, I'm back. Yay. Jeez, Pete. Hang on, I'm trying to fix something on this over here. This helps at all. Yikes. Okay, so, you know, we talk a lot about non-medication. Get through this one, guys. Can you guys hear me when it buffers? Because I continue to talk throughout the buffering just to see. Oh, how annoying this is going to be. Oh, we're going to get through this. Okay, so we talk here a lot about non-medicinal remedies in dealing with trauma effects. And there's a ton of people suffer almost universally are depression and anxiety. Those when I think it's really important for us to realize that we need all of these tools in our toolbox, right? So the non-medicinal ones. Oh my goodness. So we need all of our tools, guys, our non-medicinal ones and our medicinal ones sometimes. Medicine can only take us so far in general. I think that it's really important that we recognize that. Let's talk about depression. I'll use depression as a good example because that's what I'm dealing with right now. Our gut health, we're finding out, has huge huge role to play in depression and how we feel. So I have started taking kefir, or drinking kefir, which is a fermented milk substance. So it's kind of like fermented yogurt. Well, yogurt is fermented, but it's kind of like Go-Gurts. I don't know if you guys ever had those, but like drinkable yogurt, but it's not bad once you get used to it. But eating things like sauerkraut or kimchi, or any of our good fermented uh, foods are really good for our gut bacteria. And I've also started, in addition to just my regular lemon water that I take throughout the day, I'm also going back to the substance that a friend of mine actually got me on, and they call it a flu bomb. But I noticed after I was taking it for a week, my gut really did feel better. And then I just, wasn't chopping up the garlic and the ginger, fresh ginger for it and stuff. And I kind of got out of it. So I've decided to go back to that. So I took my first dose today, and boy, did I feel my stumble rumbling. But it's because it's kind of, reorienting itself. It's recalibrating itself. So the mixture I take is a mixture of water, lemon, apple cider vinegar, fresh ginger, fresh garlic, and cayenne pepper, because the active ingredient in the pepper, the stuff that makes it hot, is really good for our gut. So if you like spice, if you like hot, put it on as much stuff as you can manage, because that's really good for our gut. Even if it's something just like Frank's Red Hot sauce or Cholula, that is really good for our intestines. You can even use it like black pepper if you don't want quite the heat that like a cayenne pepper or an ancho chili will bring. I know some people put baking soda in it as well, because that helps to bring down the acid amount in your stomach. But since I put apple cider vinegar in it, baking soda they kind of cancel each other out in the same dosage. So if I'm going to drink baking soda water, I do that at a separate time. How does the kefir taste? It comes in so many different flavors, and I had no idea. I generally get something in the berries. So I've had mixed berry, raspberry, and strawberry so far, I think. And it tastes like a thin, slightly bubbly yogurt. And by bubbly, it's not bubbly like carbonation, but there is almost like a background fizz to it. The kefir that I take, it says like the champagne of yogurt or something, and that champagne reference is supposed to be a reference to the fizziness for it. And that's because of the fermentation, the extra fermentation that it goes through. So I recommend trying it. It does contain sugar. So if you're trying to cut out, your sugars, you do need to be aware of that. Just like most yogurts are going to contain sugar. Can still hear, but it's a bit choppy. Yeah, I have closed out just about everything else that I possibly can on it. It's StreamYard. So there's just not much that I can do about it, unfortunately, other than get a new computer, which is totally not in the budget right now. As you guys know, I had been struggling working because of my migraines for a while, but the past couple weeks I have been struggling just working because of focus and some other symptoms. And that's actually why I decided to do this here today. So yeah, I'm just lucky at paying bills at this point in time, and I'm not really sure how that's going to go this month, but we're taking it one week at a time. Um, all of the things that we have to deal with trauma effects, any of the somatic practices that we have, so breathing and yoga and anything movement based, dancing, humming, singing, art therapy, animal therapy, uh, all of those types of things. They're really important, but they are only one tool they are only a set of tools in our toolbox. And professional therapy, talk therapy can help for some people as well. Again, remind you, if you're going to get professional therapy help, please make sure that you interview your therapist and see about whether or not they have a trauma informed background, whether they've taken any classes in being trauma informed, because it's extremely important that they can understand what we've been through, what we're going through, the things that affect us, the things that have affected our bodies. And just our standard licensed therapists just don't quite have that knowledge base to help on average. Um, we also have things like EDMR, and there's been, you know, I don't know whether you want to consider medicinal, psilocybin as a medicinal tool or not. I guess it probably could fall into that. MDMA, also known as ecstasy, microdosing of that they're discovering is really been helpful. The studies have shown so far in helping with depression and PTSD as well. So if you're having any of these trauma effects and you're not getting relief from doing any of these non-medicinal um, therapies, it might be time for you to think about adding a medicinal therapy. And how long you might be on it, what kind of medication you're going to be on it. Very important to talk to a health provider about it and be able to open up in terms of what's going on, what you've tried already, where you are, what you're hoping to get out of it, what are you hoping for it to help with. And I got on antidepressants for the first time when I think I was like 25. So this is over 25 years ago. And it was at the recommendation of my therapist, not a trauma informed therapist to my knowledge, but I didn't really know about that. So, to ask her, I just know that my trauma wasn't anything that we really talked about. We were mainly focused with what was going on in my daily life and the struggles that I was having and my depression in general, not looking for some other root cause of it. And the medication was really effective. But as time goes on, as with any type of substance that you take, your body gets used to it. I had to take more medication, and then I had to switch over to a different type of medication, went up on that medication. Then I went to a sustained release. A medication that released, smaller doses of it throughout the day through my body, and eventually got on a second complementary antidepressant. And this is really all before I was dealing with my trauma, but I didn't understand. I still just kind of trusted in the doctors. It was like, you know, I talk about the depression symptoms and they give you a pill for it, because so much of the medical community is so you know mental illness is fixable by pharmacological reasons. And when they first started realizing that medications could help affect different mental situations, it was like, oh, it's better living through chemistry. We can just fix that with a pill, and we can fix that with a medication, and we can fix that with medication. And the truth is as we've spoken before, if what you're dealing with is from unresolved trauma, you're not going to fix that by just taking a medication. So I've just been on these medications for forever. And there's absolutely no shame in taking medications and having to add them. And there's no shame in having to be on them for long term. If it's helping you, it's up to everyone to decide for themselves if it's helping you. To what degree is it helping you? Some people can take them for shorter periods of time. I decided, was it last year? It may be even well over a year ago. I think it was towards the beginning of last year, to get off one of my antidepressants. I was taking two. One is more difficult to get off of than the other one. And that went fairly well. I didn't really notice that much from coming off of it. A day here or there that I was a little more emotional, has struggled a little bit, but overall, it didn't seem so bad. So I was really hopeful that, and I worked with my doctor to do a step down for getting off of Cymbalta, which is the medication that I'm currently on, and doing this, at a reasonable rate. And I was taking 2 pills a day at my dosage, and we went to 2 and 1, 2, 1, alternating like that, then went to 1 every day, and all of that went fine. And then I went to every other day at my current single pill dosage, and that did not go well. Discovered that really, really didn't go well. And I thought that, part of me was wondering maybe if it was getting off the medications, my lack of focus with work. But my lack of enjoyment with my work has been waning. And I thought, well, maybe it's just that. And I'm not putting the effort in that I used to be, so maybe it was just an internal thing. Maybe it's partly just the heat, my environment, not having the air conditioning and it's been so hot. I mean, and it could be a combination of all of those. But because of all of these other factors, it wasn't immediately apparent to me that the reason that I was feeling the way that I was because I was having withdrawal symptoms from the medication until yesterday. And I had gotten a pretty good night's sleep. I thought at least solid 7 hours, at least, I think. Not quite as much as I would have liked to, but still decent amount. I was still tired all morning, had my morning coffee. Didn't seem to be putting a dent into how tired I felt. So finally at about 10, I broke out a Monster, which I try not to do until the afternoon if I'm going to drink one. Finished the can by 11, and I was still falling asleep at my desk. And that is when that's when it was like the light bulb moment. And I just went, okay, this is fatigue. This is beyond, I'm just tired. This is withdrawal fatigue. And the only reason that I noticed it as such was because of years and years ago, I was on a fentanyl patch. And when we did our step down with that, one of my step downs kind of in the middle did not go well. And I knew nothing about withdrawal symptoms. And it it was after I was off of it or going down to my final from to 0, my last step, that I talked to my doctor about it, and he's like, "Oh, had I known, we could have cut the dose in half and stepped you down a little bit less." I Huh? Oh, I didn't even know that was an option. I just thought that this is what you said to do, and so this is the way things go. I'd never had withdrawals from anything before. So I didn't recognize any of the symptoms. Nobody really even talked to me about withdrawal symptoms other than, I think, you might be a little more moody or something like that. But, so I chalked the moodiness up to getting off the medication, but I had no idea that I could make it better, that I could go up my dosage back again. So yesterday when I felt that fatigue, and it just really hit me. I'm like, okay, well, we'll take a nap and we'll see how I feel. I slept for 4 hours. I was still exhausted. I was still so, so tired. I didn't feel good. And I said, all right, this is it. I'm going back. I'm going to go back on every day. We'll see how things go. If I can settle it every day, I'll stay at this for a while, like 2 to 3 weeks, I'm thinking minimum. And if I do go off of it, if I do try and go off of it again, I'm going to do a half step down. So I'm going to take a full dose of my one full pill, and then half a pill, full pill, a half a pill, and then we'll do half a pill every day, and then go to off of it. So we'll have an even more gradual step and see if that works. And if that doesn't even work, then I may be looking at being on it, because there still is evidence that there are chemical imbalances in some of our brains, and they need this medication to be able to help with that. It's just not quite as universal as I think they originally thought. They identified this chemical imbalance and thought, oh, well, all depression is caused by this. Now they're finding out, well, no, not necessarily. And even if it is, there's other things that we can do to help it through non-medicinal means, and also through improving our gut health. If you're doing all these other things and it's still not helping, and yeah, stay on the medication. So, that's kind of where I am, and I'm going back on it. But I thought I wanted to mention to you guys, and I'm going off my screen here so I can read something to you. Um, So my particular medication, some of the withdrawal symptoms are dizziness or lightheadedness, headaches, nausea or vomiting, fatigue or tiredness, sleep disturbances, insomnia or vivid dreams, which I the last week or so I have had several vivid dreams, which I rarely ever remember my dreams. Mood changes, which I have not had like I did when I was doing off the fentanyl. Like, my mood changes then were like, anger, the irritability, the anger type thing. And I haven't had that. And I kind of thought I might have. Increased anxiety is kind of another one. But I really haven't noticed quite, not the internal anxiety, the thoughts, the anxious thoughts, yes. Um, but I don't know that it's increased. So it's been different for me in terms of the fatigue was really the only thing that really hit me. The headaches, so some of those migraines that I was attributing like just to the weather, um, or to allergies. It could be because of the withdrawals too. I don't know. Um, it's possible. You say flu-like symptoms such as body chills or aches, sensory disturbances like tingling, numbness, electric shock sensations. And this is a weird one because I don't know if you've ever gotten really dizzy and felt like, yeah, like you're just kind of humming inside and everything just kind of goes to fuzz. And what I mean by that is like, when your TV used to go to that black and white fuzz and just be like bzzz, and those dots that used to appear, that's kind of what it's like. And for me, it just kind of goes and then it again. And that happened like 3 or 4 times in a row today. And I was like, oh, very disconcerting because I didn't know if I was going to pass out or I was already laying down, so I can't say it was dizzy, but definitely weird feelings inside me that way. So definitely some sensory disruptions. So I'm pretty darn certain that all of this is related to going off my medication, and being that just doing that every other was too much. So we'll go back to every day and kind of see what happens. So I say this and I bring you my story to let you know that it's okay. Sometimes we do need the extra medicinal help, and only you can decide if it's right for you, and only you can decide if something is working for you. And if it's not, then we have to be honest enough with ourselves and be our doctors to say, this isn't working. We can either try another medication or try a different type of therapy. Because I know for a lot of times I just thought, well, it's not, I'm not worse. I didn't feel like I was getting any better, even though we were switching medications, but I thought that this is just what I needed because I was told that, well, this is caused because of a chemical imbalance in the brain. So I thought, well, I just have to have the medication, even if it wasn't quite working for me. So we have to be our own advocates in speaking to our doctors and in being raw with what we're going through, because they can't help us unless we give them the input, unless we give them all the information to be able to deal with it. And if it isn't helping, or you don't feel your doctor's listening to you and it's just trying to switch you to a different medication, or just like, well, just give it more time, and you've done the 4 to 6 weeks, or you're at 8 or 12 weeks, maybe it's time to switch doctors. Some different doctors have different viewpoints on it. So definitely learn to be your own advocate for your health. It's extremely, extremely important. I want to go through the comments because I know that I've kind of been ignoring you as I've been talking. I wanted to make sure that I got out what I wanted to the main points of what I wanted to talk about today. Indigo, how are you? New Horizons, how are you? Welcome to this evening. I hope you guys are doing well. Let me go back up to some of these. Let's see. Judge says, Max, did you ever look into Botox for your migraines? I haven't, mainly because they've never been regular enough to warrant it. I used to only get them every great once in a while, and then they became pretty seasonal. And that's how I was able to connect them with the weather. So they're really bad about twice a year. So December-ish is when I'm guessing is the next time that they might be bad because of the um, change in the weather pattern. And I am going to be speaking to my doctor though about, I have medication that I can take when they come on. I'd rather just not have them in the first place, because any of you guys who have dealt with either chronic pain or had migraines or have had periods of intense pain, and when you get off of that pain, when that pain resolves, whether it's because of medication or just the situation is resolved, your body's exhausted. And so regardless of whether I take my medication or not, once the headache is gone, or at least down to a dull roar, I'm just tired. And it's still hard to then function and be at work and be productive. I mean, I could be there, but I'm, getting only quarter of the work done in the time that I should be getting it. And if I take my medication, that does make me extra tired. So I'd rather be able to avoid it ahead of time, but the doctors are kind of leery, because I only have these every once in a while. So I'm gonna speak with my doctor, my regular doctor, kind of see what she has to say. She's a newer doctor. My old one had retired, so I don't know if she's going to feel differently about it, or if she's learned things since she's younger and went to medical school at a different time. If maybe she's got some different insights, and if I don't get any good answers from her, then I'll try branching out. But definitely doing something, because I don't want to go through a month like that before basically being off work for a month. It's just financially, it's not sustainable, right? We all have our bills to pay, and unfortunately we have to work in order to do it. So that's what I'll be doing. Just a happy kitty helps my mood. She's coming along so well. She's almost a normal cat. I wish I could share. I didn't download it. And holding my phone up, it doesn't translate so well on the camera. But I was sitting on the couch today, and one of my cats, Tig, was laying on the back of the couch behind me, but his legs were like draped on either side of me. It's like he still wanted to be touching me, but he didn't want to be on me because it's so hot. My cats don't even want to be on me. That tells you how hot it is. So he's laid stretched out here, but he's like, okay, but I'll still touch you with my feet. So I said, hands draped down me. It was really cute. So definitely animal therapy can help so much. And one of the main reasons is because it's connection, right? So especially if we don't have other avenues to connect with people, at least we're connecting with some other animal, some other life form. And often just the unconditional love that you get from them can be very soothing. So I'm definitely very thankful for ours. Oh, Indigo, I'm so happy to hear that. The great thing about taking medications is that you work with your health provider to find the best one. And recently I switched to a new one and it made a huge difference. That's really great. And just hearkening back to what I said before, our health providers can only help us as much as information as we give them. So if we want open, honest, or if we want, the best help we can get from them, being open and honest with them is our best course of action, as much as you possibly can be. And I know for some people, especially who are on the beginnings of their healing journey, it's really difficult to talk about. And that's where, if writing is easier, if you can't verbalize it yet, you could write a letter to your doctor that you could maybe email them or send it to them early so that they can review it and go over it, so that you don't have to engage in talking to them about it and potentially triggering yourself while you're there. So there's still avenues to be able to get the information across to them, um, without having to, you know, just go through discussing all of it in office. Oh, I'm so happy for you, Deaudrey. My husband finally agreed to get therapy. I'm amazed and so relieved. That's wonderful. I heard a quote the other day, and it was something along the lines of people will only change when they want it more than staying the same. And I thought that is so true. And I'm ignoring the, say, paralysis that we can get into when we're overwhelmed, and, getting out of that. Um, because in general, that paralysis does have an expiration date. It may be weeks or months, but eventually we can get out of that paralysis stage. Now, how much we're doing may not seem like a lot once we get out of that, but at least we can get out of it. But changing, truly changing, I mean, doing the things that are going to help us, whether it's trying to eat better or exercising or, you know, getting therapy or trying new therapies, all the things that we've discussed, all the medicinal therapies, or trying a medication. It's when we decide that our current situation, we want something more enough, right? Whatever is on the other side is got to be better than we want that more than we want to stay the same. And that can be really hard, because to make that leap, especially if you've got depression and anxiety, because that depression kind of keeps us in that lower state. And so it can be hard to see any way out of that. But I think that all of us can get to that point where we decide that enough is enough. I'm going to make a change. And that change, as we've spoken about before, does not need to be big. It could be something so minor as to say, I'm I'm just going to try and eat a little healthier, just a little bit healthier. I'm going to cut out the potato chips, or I'm going to try to not have quite so many processed foods, or I'm going to add in some healthier foods. And those little steps, and when we do them and can do them consistently, that builds our confidence that we can make other changes. So when I say, making that decision to make a change, don't think about it as a wholesale life makeover change. It doesn't happen all at once, and we can't expect it to. Don't expect it to, because you will disappoint yourself. That's too much to take on. I mean, I could say all the things that I need to do. I need to exercise more. I need to eat better in terms of I need to eat more regular meals. Cut out a lot of the stuff that I shouldn't be eating, but I need to eat more regularly. Even if that's on a fasting, even if I'm doing intermittent fasting, I need to, stick to those time frames. Um, some of the soma-based exercises or therapies that we've talked about, I should be invoking those. I don't always get my meditation in every day. I don't write as much as I probably should. And when you think about all of that all at once, you're just going to overwhelm yourself and possibly put yourself back in a paralysis mode. And that's the last thing we want to do. So please, 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 if you do decide it is time for a change, make a small change. List your goals down. Where do you want to be? And then break it all down. Yeah, I want to be eating right. I want to be exercising. I want to be meditating every day. Okay, how do I get there? And getting there may take me 5 years. I don't know. Maybe I'll get there in a year. But what are the little changes that I need to do? How can I get from here to there? Break it all down, take those steps and do them as long as those small steps, do them as long as you need to until you feel like you've mastered them and you've gained the confidence from them. It is just like with my medication. I was breaking it down, but I realized I took too big of a step. So I'm going back. And if I try again, I'm going to break it down even more. And I'm going to take an even smaller step. But I'm going back on it and I'm going to stay at, one a day. And if I even need to go back to 2 and 1 and 2 and 1 till I'm feeling like I'm back, my focus is back. I'm able to, I'm working because honest guys, being able to put in all my hours during a week is the most important thing to me. That and having my book chapter done by the end of the month because it's due August 1st. So those are like the two biggest things in my life right now that I have, just have to do. So I've got to do whatever I can to get myself there. And once I'm there, then I can think about, okay, we can back off on, we can try again with the medication. Once I feel like I'm in control and back to myself, right? I'm just gonna read through your stuff. Yeah, and going to therapy can be really, really, difficult. And I don't know what kind of conversations that you've had with him, DeAudrey, but you know, especially making sure that when he gets in there that he gets somebody that he feels he clicks with. Because a lot of times, I've known people who've been resistant to therapy and they've gotten in therapy and they haven't really clicked with the person. And they use that as their excuse of, see, I told you it wouldn't work. When it's just a matter of finding the right fit. And, sometimes that can be because they're being resistant to it in the first place. Um, but I've definitely, I've had this with, exes and, going to marital counseling or whatever. And it was like, yeah, see, I told you this wouldn't work. And it was because they didn't click with that person. So instead of being willing to try again and with a different therapist, they're just like, yeah, no, therapy is not going to work. So I really am crossing my fingers, sending you hugs and love and prayers that you will see some good changes with your husband. Indigo says, what I realized that helped me to be more open to medications was that they are a tool. Like any tool, they need to be monitored and adjusted. And ever since figuring that out, I don't feel shame. Absolutely. And realizing that they're just one tool, right? It is not one size fits all. And it's not the only fix. There's so many different things that we can do to be helping ourselves in addition to the medication. And that was my downfall or for why I wasn't getting any better for a long period of time because that was the thought. You've got depression, you take a pill and it fixes it. If you're not feeling right, then we up it or we change the medication. It was just that, this is what fixes that. Now I know so much more. And I know that it's only one way of helping. It is not the fix. We have to be utilizing these other tools. And as we've spoken before, what you use on a day-to-day basis in terms of your tools may change depending on what else other challenges you have in your life, what kind of comes, forward. I didn't know any of this, so I didn't have any other coping mechanisms to deal with, new challenges that were brought up in my life, or, things that were going wrong with work or in my marriage. I just, I was depressed because of our situation overall, I thought. And then I was told, oh, well, it's because of your chemical imbalance, so this should fix that. And when it didn't, I just thought, well, I've just got to try harder, right? I just got to try harder at work. I've just got to try harder to fix my marriage, not realizing that there were internal coping things that I could do to be helping myself along. Now I know better. And this is something that, medical trauma is no joke. And this is something that I think is not talked about as much. Um, that people can get PTSD from dealing with medical issues. Deaudrey says that her husband was diagnosed with a serious heart condition out of the blue, had to have surgery. He was already not good with doctors, but now it's getting to serious PTSD levels. And there's people who have gone through protracted illnesses, and that's been traumatic because of everything that they've gone through. There's people who have gone through, say, breast surgery after breast cancer, and things that have gone wrong either with the surgery or dealing with their bodies afterwards, and they develop PTSD. Definitely, I think a much more common situation than we have ever realized. And I think the realization has been very, very slow to come among the medical community. Um, I don't have inside knowledge, but just based on all the stories that I've heard, and I think that psychology has been a little bit more open to the fact that, yeah, this can happen. But I think that in recognizing it, I think even the psychology, was kind of catching up with the fact of where this could come from. That there are so many more sources of traumatic experiences than we realize. And now we understand that trauma that may not cause a traumatic event that may not cause lasting trauma in 99 out of 100 people doesn't mean that that 100th person isn't going to suffer because of it, because we're all individuals and we all come to that experience with our differing backgrounds, our different beliefs, and where we are just in life in general, our developmental stages. It all has to do with how that traumatic experience is going to affect us in the long run. So I think that the follow-up care, in terms of psychological follow-up care for bigger issues, for prolonged illnesses, for major surgeries, I think is better than it was. But I don't think it's nearly where it really needs to be to ensure that people are handling everything well in the after effects. Your PTSD may not develop for a week or two afterwards. You may not be seeing those effects, or seeing it as repeated enough to recognize that yeah, these are PTSD effects. So I think that our doctors need to be checking in with us. Those medical teams need to have much better aftercare and longer aftercare than they do. And in the US, and I am only speaking in regards to the US because that's only what I know. Um, and a lot of that is because of insurance issues, no doubt. Yeah, SSRIs, which are the um, what most depression medications fall under, they're not for everybody and they don't work for everybody. And that's why I say we have to know ourselves and we have to know, realize how we feel before we start taking it. And then what changes do we notice? And if we're not noticing changes or not significant enough changes, we have to be honest with our doctors and go to them and say, listen, this isn't working. Crystal, sending you hugs and love and really hoping that your situation with the medication and the um, depression gets worked out, hoping that you can figure something out. It's, sometimes it feels like a little bit of whack-a-mole. There's so many options out there. And it's kind of like, okay, well, we're going to try one. And if that doesn't work, then we're going to try something else. And that's why some people find medicine medicine helps. That's why some people find that they can deal with their issues in a non-medical with, no medicinal intervention. Some people, a combination of the two work. Um, you find what works for you. Hey, Jimena, how you doing? Oh, that's good to hear, dear. I just said whenever I get a new doctor, send an email beforehand with as much history as possible. Yeah, I think with the advent of technology and electronic records, I think a lot more doctors are comfortable with that instead of just you filling out the paperwork right in the office or even just the paperwork online. Just being able to kind of do a free form talk about your situation and what your most significant obstacles are or hurdles have been, where you are now, what you're looking for, and being able to do that in writing versus being able to talking may be the way for you. Crystal, I think it's a great idea. I mean, if your psychiatrist is okay with, examining stuff that you've written ahead of time, one, that's gonna save a lot of time in your actual session. So if they're okay reviewing it beforehand, um, you could spend the time then actually talking about what's in that email versus you having to go over it. And particularly if there's any of pieces that are difficult for you to talk about, or sometimes we don't even put different pieces together until we start writing it all out, and we'll start writing about one thing and something else comes up that's related. It's like, oh my gosh, this is kind of related to that and I didn't think about it, but here's something else to think about. So I 100% would encourage you to check with them and make sure that they're willing to review stuff ahead of time. And if they are, go ahead. Yes, definitely send something. Hey Rick, how you doing? Good to see you. I hope you are doing well. New Horizons says between eating more healthy and talking about moving to Georgia in the future to be close with my family and friends, the list goes on. I'm basically going through some serious changes. And this, people don't, I think, realize how much, losing a loved one, losing a job, making a major move, how much stress that puts on us. I remember reading about like the 10 biggest stressors in life, and I've just named you like three of them. So we have a lot of things that can cause extreme stress in us, and high amounts of stress are only going to make your depression worse, or can make your depression worse. I won't say absolutes, but definitely can make it a lot worse. So managing our stress is huge. So if you've got a lot of things on your plate, trying to manage that as best you can, and hopefully when you kind of get through to the other side, things will calm down a lot. But I think that's great, if you're going to be closer to your family, and that you're eating healthier. And I know that it's not the easiest thing in the world, especially when it's hot like this and we don't want to cook. I made a pot roast last night because I had to use the meat, and my son walked in yesterday. He was like, "Oh my God, it is so hot in here." I said, "I know, but I had to have the oven on in order to make the pot roast. There was nothing I could do about it." Hi, Sven. I'm glad you're here. Welcome. Hope you're doing well tonight. Fuzzy Adventures, new here to this chat. Welcome. We are doing fairly well today. I'm very glad you're here. Hi, Teresa Murphy. How are you doing today? How are you, little puppy dogs? I hope you're cooler on the coast than we are over here. And because it's so much impacts it absorbs correctly, it's why I had to change my diet. Yeah, I don't think it's something we will continue to speak about, is this mind, brain gut connection, body gut connection, and how much we're realizing, and science is now proving about what goes on in our gut, the health of our gut, the microbiome in our gut, how much that affects our health and affects our emotions. Now they've started to make the connection between gut and ADHD and anxiety. So as more research comes out with that, I think that it's just kind of solidifying what we're already intuitively knowing, that if our body feels better, we can feel better mentally. We can handle things a little bit easier emotionally. Oh, Teresa, I am so sorry. Sending huge hugs and love to you. I know that dealing with a pet who is not in good health is never, never easy. Never easy. And I know you consider them part of your family, as I do with my pets. So let's send hugs and love, huge hugs and love out to Teresa, and also out to anybody else out there who needs it. I know that that's yeah, it's humid here as well. If what we're getting is any indication, tomorrow is supposed to be 1,000 times better. So hopefully by Friday you guys will be good, because seems like your weather's always a day behind us here. So yeah, that's about what I've got for today. We've um, got a little health issue with our someone in my immediate family right now. I won't go into details right now because we don't know much. So until I know more, But, we're hoping it's nothing, and that's all we can do until it gets checked out and can, see where that's going. But, just adds another thing onto, you know, dealing with the stress of getting my book done, the stress of working, the stress of the financial stress and paying my bills for, the past 6 weeks of very minimal work. Um, it's a lot. It's a lot. And the decision for me to go back on my medication, or I should say to up it, because, I hadn't gotten off of it completely, to up my medication is the right one for me. And I'm not going to apologize for it. I'm not going to feel bad about it. I don't feel like I've failed because I wasn't able to successfully get off of it. It may be the case that I just need to step down in smaller doses, and we'll see. But getting myself back to being able to function and doing the things that I need to be doing, you know, being able to focus all day at work and earn the money, to pay my bills around here and be able to focus on getting my book chapter done. Um, that's what I've got to do right now. And so that's what we are going to do. Okay. So next show will be Saturday. Trigger warning for any of you guys. It's going to be an interesting conversation. There was a quote from a psychiatry textbook in 1974 about incest that really struck me. It was a quote that was mentioned in Bessel van der Kolk's book, The Body Keeps the Score. And it was just so wrong. Just flat out. It was just so wrong. And it got me thinking about, when did we really start understanding the true impact that incest, and in the greater conversation, sexual violence, has on people? That it is a true trauma, that it's significantly negatively impacts people. When did psychiatry and psychology really start understanding the true depths of how harmful these acts were? So we're going to kind of go through a little bit of a history. We've spoken about the history of sexual violence in kind of a broad stroke in general before, but this is going to be focused more on psychology and not just any of the research that they did into it, but when did it start being really accepted, and how did that happen, that they were really realizing the harmful effects of this? Because I think it's an important discussion, because there's still that resistance from portions of society that I don't think are understanding the true negative impact that this has, not only from, say, people who were in older generations who just didn't talk about it, so never put much thought into it, not only because of people who have their beliefs, younger people who have their beliefs because they've gotten them from, generational, passed down through generational beliefs, but also when we look at, and if you look at the Kids on Porn video that we did, as we discussed, not only the kids, but the adults now, and the ever increasing um, hardcore porn, the limits that keep being pushed because people get desensitized to one, and so then they're kind of looking for that next thrill. And the farther that boundary is getting pushed, and how that is affecting people in society in general, um, that's a potential avenue for us to slip back. So I want to kind of look at this overall and say, where did we come from? Where are we now? Based on things that are going on now, how can this move forward? So that's what Saturday's discussion is going to be about. Yep, and Crystal, it's been very interesting, the things that I've been finding out, particularly kind of a differencing between how Europe has viewed things and how North America has viewed things, how the different people in psychology in the different places have. It's not like they do. It's not like they grew separately, but um, yeah, I'll talk about it all on Saturday. But you're right; it's been more recent than you think. Incest is one of those things that's hard for people to understand and accept. And I'm talking about, it's kind of always been taboo, right? I mean, and I'm not talking about the taboo aspect of it. I'm talking about understanding how harmful that it was, that it wasn't just something that happened. And it was like, you know, it's like the brother beat up the brother, or, you know, just something that happened within families, or sexual violence in general. It's just something that happened to you in life. You deal with it and you move on. Really realizing that no, this is a source of trauma for people. So that's what Saturday's conversation is going to be about. I announce it now because it may not be for everybody, and I totally get that. And if it's not for you, then feel free to catch us on the next one, which would be next Wednesday at 6 p.m. So hope to see you guys all Saturday at 3. August 15th, I'll keep mentioning it until I get some more specifics in terms of time and who all is going to be on the panel. But we are going to do a fundraiser that we're going to be streaming for the GoFundMe to help raise my hotel costs and my airfare costs and last month book fees for the book launch on August 15th. Like I said, my chapter is due August 1st. So at least that will all be written. And there's several different YouTube content creators who have agreed to be on panel, and we're going to just be doing a bunch of fun things. And I'm going to be giving away some books. I won't get them obviously for a few months afterwards, but you'll be on the list for when I get the books. So it should be a good couple of hours. So even if you can't join us, donate. I hope that you join us anyway, and you can share out the link, and that will help us. Yes, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, guys. I need to say that a heck of a lot more than I do. If you haven't hit subscribe, please do hit the bell all for notifications. And if you can leave a comment after the show, that would be appreciated as well. It's one of the main ways that YouTube thinks to push this out for the algorithm. The more people who comment, the more comments you have, the more interest the YouTube says, oh, people are interested in this, so let's push it out more. And the more reach we can have and the more people we can help. So please stick around. You can enjoy the outro afterwards, put together by our wonderful Jimena. But please remember, you are valuable, you are loved, and you are, let's try that again. You are worthy, you are valuable, and you are loved just the way you are. for who you are. So hugs and love from me. Mwah. We will see you on Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern. Surviving Together, Never Alone. Bye, guys.
Through the fire, through the rain, we have walked through endless pain. But we stand, we rise again. Stronger now, we break the chain. Surviving together, hearts open wide, lifting each other through every tide. The past may have shaped us, but it won't define. Together we heal, together we shine. Every tear, every scar tells the story of who we are. Not just survivors, but warriors too. With love as our armor, we see this through. We see you, we hear you, and we believe in you. Surviving together, hearts open wide, lifting each other through every tide. The past may have shaped us, but it won't define. Together we heal, together we shine. We see you, we hear you,